If you're staring at your budget every month, feeling completely exhausted by the endless tug of war between saving for some distant retirement 30 years from now versus actually enjoying your life today, this is your escape hatch. I'm Phil, the elder millennial, and let's look at why F.I.R.E is the closest thing to a financial cheat code for our generation. It's built on the radical idea that says, what if you front load the math aggressively early in life, hit a critical mathematical mass, and then stop saving for retirement entirely? You let time and compound interest do 100% of the heavy lifting in the background for the next 2 or 3 decades. It gives you an absolute guilt-free permission to spend every single dollar of your paycheck today as you see fit. Traditional F.I.R.E was designed around the idea of velocity, saving as much cash as possible to cross a finish line in record time, so you can quit working entirely. But by the late 2010s, a new sub-faction emerged on the internet forums. People started realizing that the traditional model was ignoring our generation's greatest hidden asset, time. Think about the economic landscape we inherited. We entered the workforce during one major recession. We hit our stride during a global pandemic, and then we watched housing costs skyrocket out of reach. For a lot of us, saving 50 to 70% of our income to retire completely at age 45 isn't just miserable, it's mathematically impossible. The community figured out that if you can inject a significant chunk of money into the market during your 20s and 30s, the snowball effect becomes so powerful that your monthly contributions eventually become almost irrelevant. They called it coasting because it mimics taking a bike up a massive hill. It takes immense leg strength and heavy grinding to get to the peak, but once you cross that crest, you can take your feet off the pedals and let momentum carry you the rest of the way down. It transformed the goal from quitting work completely to eliminating retirement anxiety forever. And this principle does not just apply to 20-somethings. It can be applied to any age for a desired outcome. But the longer you wait, the more challenging it does become. Let's look at how the math functions under the hood, because this is where compound interest stops being a textbook concept and becomes a literal labor-saving machine. Let's stick with our baseline household earnings from the median income of $80,000 with take-home pay of around $64,000 a year after taxes. Let's look at a real-world scenario where we have Sarah. She's a 30-year-old, and for the last 7 or 8 years, she's lived a disciplined, low-overhead life, but aggressively saved $1,330 a month in low-cost, diversified market index funds. By age 30, Sarah has managed to amass a portfolio of $150,000. At that exact moment, Sarah hits her F.I.R.E number. Let's run the silent compounding math here. Sarah decides that from age 30 to 65, she's never going to add another single dollar to her retirement accounts. She stops contributing to her 401k, stops funding her IRA, and adjusts her automatic transfers to zero. Now in this example, we leave that $150,000 alone for 35 years at a historically conservative inflation-adjusted 7% net annual market return. But look at what happens to the nest egg completely in the background. By age 40, that $150,000 has become $295,000. By 50, it crosses $580,000. By the time she turns 65, without adding another dime to that initial $150,000, it's snowballed to $1.6 million. Now, if you apply our gold standard 4% rule to that final nest egg, Sarah can pull out a completely passive, inflation-adjusted $64,000 a year for the rest of her life. She's completely funded her traditional retirement decades ahead of schedule. But think about what that means to Sarah's life right now at the age of 30. Because her retirement is entirely taken care of by the law of mathematics, she no longer needs to save that $1,330 every single month. Her lifestyle overhead instantly drops. She only needs to earn enough money to cover her current day-to-day bills. She can take a lower-paying job that she actually loves and pivot to her creative pursuits, travel, or simply upgrade her current lifestyle to spend 100% of her paycheck without any financial guilt. Now let's be clear here, F.I.R.E requires a big psychological shift. The hardest part of F.I.R.E isn't the math, it's the mental training. It takes discipline. We've also been conditioned since childhood to believe that saving money is a lifelong chore. When you suddenly stop contributing to your retirement accounts, it feels a little dangerous. You have to trust the mathematics over your anxiety. You also have to realize that post-FIRE, it's a lifelong game. You're trading in immediate career freedom for immediate lifestyle freedom. You still have to work to pay your rent, your mortgage, and your groceries today. If you ever lose your job tomorrow, you still need an emergency fund because you cannot touch that compounding interest nest egg without destroying the entire engine. But the psychological relief is profound. When you look at your job, you are no longer viewing it through the lens of panic. You aren't desperately trying to hoard cash to survive your old age. The background static of retirement anxiety is permanently muted. When you have the right plan, you position yourself to get the resources aligned that give you the flexibility to be truly free. Hit subscribe because in our final video of this series, we look at one of the most radical lifestyle engineering plays on the board. It's called Lean FIRE. And it's where we minimize our overhead, optimize, and then you're able to buy your complete freedom decades ahead of schedule. I'll see you next time.